Welcome back. Third, fourth, and fifth dimension with family. Ooh, am I really going to talk about family? This is really sticky. This can be a very sticky, challenging topic for many people. Or perhaps that's just a belief. What if family dynamics are actually not as complicated and challenging and hurtful as many of us have been telling the story? Let's dive into third, fourth, and fifth dimension. Third dimension, we know the goal of being in the third dimension is to experience separation, is to feel separate from other consciousnesses, other beings, other energy frequencies. We wanted to experience what it feels like to be separate, to feel alone, to be disconnected from other people and ourselves and all consciousness. So what better way to have a disconnection in the third dimension than have the family dynamics be so fucking messy, right? So fucking messy. Family dynamics, I don't know about you, but I've been telling the story. I've been believing, and that's why I love doing the third, fourth, and fifth dimension. It is really showcasing to me how many limiting beliefs, how many stuck points of view I project about my family and about families in particular. And that's just a choice. A belief is a choice. A belief is a choice. I can choose to look and observe people from my third dimensional vibration, from my third dimensional frequency, or I can make another choice. And having that awareness that I can make another choice, what is that an indicator of? That's an indicator I've popped into the fourth dimension. Once I catch it, like what I'm choosing to say about this person, what I'm choosing to think about this person, what I'm choosing to believe about this person is a choice. And I don't have to buy into the story. Maybe your family said certain things like this, like racism, I have observed, right? Many families, I've heard many families, and it just bugs me, it triggers me, so that's why I'm talking about it. But like I'll hear if they're talking that they were at the store and they saw someone, well, for me, if you are at the store and you saw someone, you say, I was at the store and I saw someone. But when you have to describe that person as a black person, like that just makes me cringe. And because I'm mindful, like I don't have any of my friends say, I walked into the store and a white person tripped me. I don't ever hear that, right? So when I hear somebody say, oh, I walked into a store and this black guy tripped me, like, right? Like that instantly triggers me, and I instantly have an awareness, like there's some discrimination here happening, and the person telling me it probably has no clue or no awareness that what they just said offended me, or is, in my belief, offensive, a belief, right? So when you can catch and you realize it's a belief, you realize you have a choice, right? So maybe you grew up in a family where that's how your parents talked. If there was a black person at the grocery store or a black person in the street, and then they described the skin color, so you're just talking on autopilot. You have the choice. Like, is that how I want to describe a human being? I don't describe people by their eye color or their hair color. Why am I describing someone by their skin color? Interesting question, right? So maybe you just can observe that, right? So when you get to that place where you can start to catch things and you have the choice, you have the awareness that you could start describing people just as human beings, and you don't have to label like what color they are, right? So that's an indicator we've popped into the fourth dimension. I kind of went off on a tangent on that. I'm not sure why, but that was really coming in loud and clear. So sorry about that, and stay with me, hopefully. So families. So I have, like the other program that you can have in the families is denial and delusion, right? Because in the third dimension, right, like we don't have the awareness, we don't have the maturity, we're not functioning. It's one thing to feel like your family or people that you love, that you're loving them, or that they can do whatever because you can have unconditional love. If your set point is from, okay, this is my fifth dimensional point of view, that I know we're all one, I know we're all interconnected, so I can give people a pass, that's one frequency and energy. Versus in the third dimension, the frequency or the energy is denial or spiritual bypassing. So if somebody is breaking boundaries, if somebody's being disrespectful, if somebody in the family is being a bully and everyone just turns a blind eye at it, that's not choosing to love them unconditionally. That's being in the program of denial. That's being in the program of spiritual bypassing or emotional bypassing. I was raised in a family where we bypassed almost all emotions. So we were not allowed any of the heavy emotions. We were not allowed to question. We were not allowed to talk about the elephant in the room. And there were a lot of elephants in the room. So it confused me. And I actually thought, for a very long time, I actually thought that the vibration of the pattern of how I was raised was fabulous. I thought I was so lucky, because that's what they said. Like in my family, all we do in my family, or one of the main things my family does, is cheerlead. Cheerlead, cheerlead. You're amazing, you're amazing. No, you're so good at this, you're so good at this. Which compliments are really amazing, and it's really good to build one another up. But if you're using compliments to camouflage, when you're using compliments to bypass, that's a whole different energy. And I was so, like my daughter, I'd like turned 50, and my daughter had to explain to me all of these toxic patterns, right? And I like, wow, like my kids can see it so easy, right? Because they were raised by me, so I'm passing on a lot of the dysfunction, but I'm also, they're also the new energy and the new frequency, and they can see things easier. And I'm kind of, part of my codependency, part of my people pleasing is when you've been emotionally neglected, right? If you've been emotionally abandoned or neglected or left alone, you develop coping skills. So one thing that I've developed that I wasn't even aware of is it's so easy for me to go into denial and forgiveness. And I forgive so fast, right? Forgiveness is so easy for me. Well, then I found out, as I've been doing the work about the wounds, my inner child wounds, I found out that part of the coping skill is part of your brain just forgets. So it is easy to forgive because your body isn't holding on to it. Your body's not self-protecting. The way to survive in that community or in that environment is you dismiss it, you delete it, you ignore it, you bypass it. So denial and bypass, those are really good programs, and we see those in the third dimension. So do you have any third dimension stories of denial, of bypassing emotions or issues, or maybe another way that can happen, instead of suppressing and hiding and ignoring and avoiding situations, you could be on the other side. And I tend to meet gentlemen who are on the other side, and they're very loud, they're very aggressive, they're very confrontational, have strong bully energy. So it's the same, not dealing with the emotional body. It's a similar tactic for survival, even though the method is different, right? So in my family, we pretend that it didn't happen. We ignore it, we dismiss it. In other families, they just blow it up, right? Just verbal words without control, verbal like screaming without self-control and without accountability to be better or do better, right? It's just the pattern of how different family dynamics show up. So we know, right? If we wanted the experience of being separated, not feeling connected to yourself or to the closest people in your life, your caregivers, your family, what better way than to have dynamics where we don't have emotional maturity, where our parents did the best they can, right? Our parents did the best they can, their parents did the best they can, and so on and so on. But when you don't have the tools, you don't have the skills, you don't have the awareness, when you're inside the third dimension, you're easily controlled, you're easily manipulated, and you just pass down, autopilot, and you're not even aware. Like when the girl says, yeah, I went to the store and a black guy tripped me, she's not even aware what she said is offensive, right? Like no awareness. Pass down, autopilot, pass down, autopilot. So that's the third dimension. Fourth dimension, we start to get the awareness. We start to realize we have choice. We start to realize, wow, there's more to the story. Maybe we have the idea, like maybe there's a contract. Maybe I agreed to meet this person or partner with this person because we were going to activate each other and trigger each other so we could do our own healing, so it would bring the healing to the surface so things could get processed and cleared, new beliefs on what you think about this. So instead of maybe the abusive patterns or the unhealthy patterns, so instead of judging them so harshly, maybe now in the fourth dimension, you're starting to say, hey, like maybe this was for my benefit. Maybe this hurtful relationship what was a breakdown for a breakthrough. Maybe I needed to heal parts of my wounded child. Maybe my body, there's chemistry, this connection just happened because there's pieces of me that are wounded that want to get seen, heard, validated, and honored. And this person is pulling that out of me, is activating dormant pieces that I've had inside of me that maybe I've dismissed and neglected. So fourth dimension, we start to see like there's a bigger story, maybe there's a reason, maybe there's a purpose. And then what would the fifth dimension look like in relationships? What would your fifth dimensional self know about family? Your fifth dimensional self would have heart wide open, not because you're denying, not because you're spiritually bypassing. Your heart would just be wide open because you would know from a pure knowing that we're all one, that this is just a game. All of these characters in my life are created by me, right? Right? If we are all one and everyone is just a reflection of you, everyone is just a mirror for you to learn something about yourself or see something about yourself, even that learning thing, like we should have a conversation about learning. And are we here to learn? Are we? I don't know. It's a third, fourth, and fifth dimension on are we here to learn and be better? That's an interesting subject. A lot of people think we're put on this planet to have a learning because we weren't good enough and we needed to learn. I obviously don't think that. I think we're here for an experience, but I don't think we're here to be in school to learn anything. From my point of view, I'm a fucking sovereign being, right? Like I am all that I am. I am one with all that is, in my belief. So why would all that is need to learn anything? I don't know, but it's an experience, right? So for my fifth dimensional self with family, I can go to an event, I can go see people, and I can hold that knowing that this is just a game, this is the matrix, we're all just having an experience, we're all just having an opportunity to have interactions, to have conversations, to have exchanges for the experience of it. And from that place, there's so much space, if it's a pure place, not a bypassing place, right? Because for me, when I was accessing my spirituality in the beginning, I thought I was showing up from I'm aware of spirituality, so I need to forgive. I'm aware of spirituality, so I need to know, this person didn't mean it. And I kept giving passes, not because I was ready to give the passes, but because I had all this self-judgment that because I'm spiritual, like, I know better, so I better be doing better. And I denied and dismissed so much of my pain body. I denied and dismissed so much of my wounds because my mind knew about the spiritual concepts. So that would be an example of the fourth dimension. My mind knew information, but my body, like my woundedness, my inner child, my pain body, like felt these things, but I overrode what my emotional state was because my mental body told me, like, I'm spiritual, like I know better, so I need to give people a pass. I need to like accept this is the way people are. And so I went through that phase. And then for me, I went then through the phase of self-protection. Like, whose job is it to take care of me? Right? When I stopped giving my power away, right? When I stopped giving my power away to parents, to religion, to husbands, to the star friends, to whomever, when I started taking my power back, then I had to go through the experience, or I chose to go through the experience where I learned that I need to self-protect. I need to have boundaries. So even if my mental body knew I could get to the fifth dimension, or even if my mental body was aware of the fifth dimension, where like on one level, we're all just one, in order to heal and process, I needed to stay in my third dimension or my fourth dimension where I could learn the tools of self-protection, because I need to be the spokesperson for me. I show people how they can treat me by what I tolerate, what I allow, what I put up with. So that's all. Like, it's nobody is required to come to the table and right. Like, that's the perfectionism. If I say I'll have a relationship with you, but you need to show up X, Y, and Z in order for me to be comfortable. Right? Like, that's the perfectionism program. That's a third dimensional program. So if I'm really wanting to live in my fifth dimensional program and have it be pure and real, then I need to do the work. I need to find out where the wounds are. I need to figure out how to take care of me. So then in my fifth dimensional state, I can show up and be real because I know I have the tools to take care of me. And I'm not saying it's once you get it, right? I'm not saying once you get it, you stay there forever, because that's, this reality, third dimension is ebbing and flowing in and out of the third, fourth, and fifth dimension. So there's certain times where your nervous system is regulated, you're balanced, you're anchored, and a family dynamic can show up, and you got it. You can sustain your fifth dimensional vibrational frequency on it. You can stay neutral, you can stay observant, you can stay where there's no triggers, there's no reaction, and you can just see it. And there's other times, right, that something happens and you're not able to sustain that or hold that, and you get triggered, you have a big reaction, your body really hurts. That's all real. If that's happening, that's all real. And then you have the ability to move through it, but we don't want to, or you can, it's your choice. But the way to move through it, where it's a pure way, is to deal with it, to feel the feelings, to know what you know, and allow it to come up so you can process it, or you can deal with it, and just sitting with it, like, hey, I'm in my limitation body right now. I'm in my fear-based body right now. I'm in my, I feel rejected and I feel abandoned right now. And that's okay. I'm in that place where this pain is hurting me. Like, you know what, like, I was just talking to a friend today, and we were talking about how we all want to feel seen. Like, when you talk to people, what do people want to talk about? Themselves. People love to talk about themselves. Why? People in general feel so insignificant, so dismissed, so unimportant, that if you can focus on them, if you can give them pure listening, if you can give them genuine, sincere compliments, people, like, they just light up. They just, like, sparkle and shine. Why is that? Well, because we have this natural hunger to know our magnificence, because we are magnificent, right? And so this third dimension, we just created, we just chose to create, to be inside of very difficult programs in order to feel really, really pulled apart, to feel really, really separated. And then all of those different emotions can show up: abandonment, rejection, hurt, left out, not good enough, right? Not valued, not seen, dismissed. All of those things that most all of us have experienced at one time or another. So they're not bad. Like, it's just like, I always think of the third dimension as if you went to an amusement park. Some rides spin, right? And you have the experience of spinning. Some rides are roller coasters and you go up and down, right? Some rides are like bumper cars and you're just smashing into each other. They're just different experiences, just different emotions. Right? And we love the good experiences. We like to tell the story about the good experience, but we've been trained and conditioned to have shame, to have judgment, to have denial about the painful experiences, about the uncomfortable experiences, about the fearful or the unknown experiences. So there's not a lot of space for those to be seen and validated. Third, fourth, and fifth dimension with your family, it's pretty intense, isn't it? And it's fun to like track it. It's fun to track as you are getting to know yourself more, as you're having your own self-love, your own self-protection, your own self-care. Because the more you learn to take care of you, this is what I found, the more I can take care of me and have boundaries and self-protect and self-love, then I can go and be around family or people, and I don't get sucked back into it as quickly or as easily as I used to. And then that builds my faith, that builds my trust in my abilities, in my awareness. Like, mentally, I know I'm multidimensional, right? Mentally, I know I'm all that is. I'm connected, right? We're all interconnected. We're all one. But my body doesn't always remember that. My emotions don't always remember that. So, but the more right? Like law of momentum, it's a real law. The more I demonstrate to myself that I've got you, right? Like, I talk to me like, I got you. I'm gonna take care of you. And I go to a family event, and if I'm feeling scared or my nervous system starts to get dysregulated or something starts to happen to me, like I know I got the tools and I've got the ability to go to take care of me. And yes, I can still be emotional. I can still get triggered. I can still whatever. But my faith in remembering the truth of who I am and knowing that I have the ability for self-care, self-love is improving. So I don't know if you noticed, but all of the stuff I talked about with families has been on the problems, on the toxicity, on the dysfunction, the unhealthy patterns with families. There are also other parts of family that I haven't been showcasing just because they seem more like the good stories are easy, the happy stories are great, right? And to remember to know, to have that connection, right? Like, I don't know, I just wanted to talk about the problem side of families or the challenging part of families. But I want to just honor and hold space for the people, for the situations that have really healthy families, that have really good boundaries, that have really good, if you were raised to love and honor yourself and all of, your aspects, like, I'm really happy for you. That's beautiful. And it's beautiful to know, like, we can keep changing the dynamics of families. We can do our part. We can do our work if that's what we believe in. And then that is going to have a ripple effect for our bloodline. And then when you think about family anyway, is family just your bloodline? Or from your fifth dimensional point, everyone is you. You are connected with everyone. So everyone is your family. But if you narrow it down to the third dimension, people have a specialness with bloodline, right? So I believe, right, it's easy for me to just know, like you love who you love, right? That you don't need to have the DNA to love someone like a sister or a mother or a grandparent, right? It's just that love is pure. I'm ranting. So families, third, fourth, and fifth dimension, what is your point of view? Where are you functioning from? And how can you jump into a different dimension if you are feeling that you're being triggered or upset? Thanks.